There is one thing a man does quietly, almost without noticing it himself, that reveals real emotional attachment more clearly than anything he could ever say. It's not a grand gesture. It's not a declaration. It's something so small most women scroll right past it without realizing what they just witnessed. Today, we're going to uncover exactly what that one thing is, why it matters so much psychologically, and how to recognize it in your own relationship. By the end of this video, you'll never look at his small, everyday behavior the same way again. Let's get into it. Before the reveal, let's talk about why this particular behavior matters so much. Most advice about male attachment focuses on big, obvious moments: meeting the family, saying, "I love you," planning a future together. Those moments matter, but they're rare, and they're easy to perform even when the underlying feeling isn't fully there. Psychologists who study attention and memory point to something far more revealing. What a person effortlessly retains about you says more about their emotional investment than almost anything they could consciously perform. Attention, it turns out, is one of the most honest signals of attachment there is because, unlike words, it's very hard to fake consistently. So let's talk about what that looks like specifically. To understand the one thing, you first need to understand what its absence looks like. When a man is only surface-level interested, his attention tends to be present-focused and reactive. He listens while you're talking. He responds appropriately in the moment, but very little of what you say actually lodges into his memory afterward. Ask him next week what you told him about a hard day at work, and there's a good chance he won't remember the specifics, even if he seemed engaged at the time. This isn't necessarily a character flaw. It's simply a reflection of where his attention actually lives. Human beings, especially under the pressure of new relationship performance, can seem attentive without the information actually sinking in, because on some level, they're focused on managing the interaction rather than genuinely absorbing it. This is exactly why so many women feel like they're talking, but not truly being heard, even in relationships that otherwise seem fine. That feeling is often an accurate read of shallow, in-the-moment attention, rather than deep emotional processing. So what does deep emotional processing actually look like? What's the one thing that changes when real attachment sets in? Here it is. A man who's genuinely emotionally attached remembers the small things you say and brings them up again later, without you having to remind him. Not the big milestones, not your birthday or your job title which anyone would remember. The small things. The coworker you mentioned once, in passing, 3 weeks ago. The fact that you don't like a certain food. The small worry you casually shared about an upcoming appointment. The offhand comment about wanting to try a specific restaurant someday. This is the sign, because remembering small details requires something that can't really be faked long-term: genuine cognitive investment. Psychologists who study memory formation know that people naturally retain information tied to things they emotionally care about, and just as naturally let go of information that doesn't feel significant to them. So if he's holding onto small, seemingly unimportant details about your life, it's because on some level, his brain has already decided you matter enough to remember. Let's break down what this actually looks like day to day. He brings something up unprompted. How did that appointment go, the one you were nervous about? When you never reminded him it was even happening, that's not luck. That's a sign the detail mattered enough to stick. He does something small based on a comment you made in passing. You mention once that you love a particular snack or flower or song, and weeks later, he shows up with it, or plays it, without explanation. He's not trying to impress you with a grand gesture. He genuinely just remembered and acted on it. He asks follow-up questions about things you've mentioned before, connecting them to the present. Is this the same coworker who was giving you trouble last month? This kind of contextual memory shows he's not just hearing you in isolated moments. He's building an ongoing picture of your life in his mind. This is what real emotional attachment looks like at the neurological level. Your life has started occupying real estate in his memory, not because he's trying to, but because caring about someone makes the mind naturally hold onto the details that make up who they are. Here's why psychologists consider this such a dependable indicator, more than most grand romantic gestures. Grand gestures can be planned, performed, even copied from what worked for someone else. But remembering an offhand comment from 3 weeks ago and bringing it up naturally, in context, is very difficult to fake because it requires that the information was genuinely processed and stored in the first place, not just heard. This is also why the absence of this sign is worth paying attention to. If you consistently find yourself re-explaining things you've already shared, or reminding him of details that feel like they should have stuck, that's not necessarily a deal breaker, but it is useful information about where his attention is currently living. The goal isn't to test him or quiz him on details to prove a point. It's simply to notice, naturally, whether the small things you share are being absorbed, or whether they're disappearing the moment the conversation ends. Let's bring it all together. 1. Surface-level interest is present-focused, attentive in the moment, but details often don't stick afterward. 2. Real emotional attachment shows up as memory. He holds on to small, seemingly unimportant details about your life. 3. He brings things up unprompted, without you needing to remind him. 4. He acts on offhand comments, remembering a small preference and following through on it, weeks later. 5. He connects details across time, showing he's building an ongoing picture of your life, not just hearing isolated moments. This is the one thing that speaks louder than any romantic declaration. Not what he says about caring, but what his mind has quietly chosen to hold on to. If this gave you a clearer way to read genuine attachment, that's exactly why this channel exists. We explore the hidden psychology behind love, attraction, and human behavior, the patterns that are true, but rarely explained clearly. If you enjoyed this, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because we release new psychology and relationship insights every week. And I'd love to hear from you. Has he done this for you? Drop a comment and let me know. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.